Martin Luther was the trailblazer of the Protestant Reformation. Daring and brash, he changed the Christian landscape forever by subsuming the whole of Christian doctrine and experience into a simple singular truth: justification by faith alone. But Luther didn't carry the whole of the Protestant Reformation on his shoulders by himself. There were other leaders, other voices as well, and these others were often far different from Martin Luther. John Calvin did more to push forward the cause of the Protestant Reformation than anyone other than Luther, and yet the two men could not have been more different. We know so much about Luther because he was terribly brash, and he loved to talk about and write about himself. We know very little about Calvin, about the early life of Calvin. He was a faithful Catholic into his adulthood, and he never even tells us what caused him to break with the Catholic Church and to join the movement of Protestantism. Luther wrote principally about justification by faith. Calvin wrote about everything. He published the famous Institutes of the Christian Religion, in which he encompassed doctrines like the Trinity, the Incarnation, and so on, for the first time from a non-Catholic or Protestant point of view. Calvin was encyclopedic in his ability to systematize Christian doctrine, and because of this, he became the father of what is known today as Reformed theology. Although in his day, Calvin was mostly known for his aberrant view of communion, or the Eucharist. Calvin was somewhere in between Zwingli and Luther, which itself was quite controversial back then. We today mostly remember Calvin's focus on predestination, or what's sometimes now called double predestination. This view of predestination was popularized in the 20th century by the acronym TULIP, and it has come to be come to stand alongside Calvin, often known by the term Calvinism. TULIP, let's walk through it. T is for total depravity. Humans are absolutely unable to disconnect themselves from sin in any way. The U of TULIP is for unconditional election. God has unconditionally chosen those whom he has elected for salvation. L, limited atonement. Now, that's not to say that the atonement is limited in its power. It's to say that the atonement is limited in its application to the elect only. I is for irresistible grace. Those who are chosen and elected are unable to resist the salvific grace of God. P, finally, is for the perseverance of the saints. God's sovereign will in the lives of the elect cannot be changed or thwarted by anybody, including themselves. Calvin's understanding of salvation, along with his monumental book, The Institutes of the Christian Religion, they show us the explosion of theological learning that occurred in tandem with the Protestant Reformation. This movement considers itself scholastic and humanistic in the best sense of those words. It was the faith side of the Renaissance, of the Enlightenment. Thus, the diversity and the diverse theology that characterized early Christianity in the first centuries of the church was reborn, was alive and well in the Renaissance and the Protestant Reformation, and persists in Protestantism today.